everyone. Welcome to another episode of Priceless Convos. Today, I'm being joined by Miss Erin Pompa. She is a speaker, educator, empowerment coach, and is on a mission to help audiences navigate fear and strengthen their resilience. Along with presenting, Erin is an adjunct professor at Berkeley College, and she has been featured in Dance Magazine, Dance Business Weekly, and won the Toastmasters Area District 83 table competition in 2022. Erin's goal is to help and inspire, empower audiences with the tools to overcome limiting beliefs and stop that is stopping them from excelling in their lives.
Yes.
That's it. I almost had that perfect.
That was good. I was like, wow.
One take. So hi, how are you doing?
Oh, hello, Sidjae. I'm so happy to be here. I'm good today.
Good. That is good. That's good. So, we connected off of TikTok.
Yes.
Folks, we connected off of TikTok. Social media, I feel like every now and then when I'm scrolling online, I'll come across some amazing people doing amazing things. And I know that was how we connected because I do believe you're doing amazing things. The conversation that you were having online was about pivoting in business.
Mm-hmm.
About pivoting in business and how you feel about that. So I guess number one, intro yourself, and then let's talk about pivoting in business.
Yes. Well, first of all, when I was talking about life change and pivoting in career because I feel like we talked about this. I'm 42, and it's like you get to this place, especially when you're in your 40s, I find where you're like, I want to do meaningful work. Because the older I get, the more I realize how limited time we have here. And I was just speaking transparently, and you left a comment, but something about the way you commented and the way you invested in pouring into me through your comments made me attracted to your energy. And then we ended up following each other on Instagram and just talking, and it was such a gift and it was so beautiful. So there is so much beauty in social media if you know how to filter out the crap, right?
Yes.
But who am I at my core? I'm an educator. I like to say that God took me to education. I started out as a dance educator running a high school dance program, and I never wanted to do that. And my parents told me to get a job because they were tired of supporting me, and I fell in love. That's number one. And then from there, I would say I'm a change maker. It's there that I realized that it's important to me to help people overcome the limiting beliefs that they face in their life, whether it's on a youth audience or an adult audience, because there's so many people walking around the world not emotionally intelligent, and it's not their fault. It's just because they haven't been led that way through their own life and their own stories. And I thank God so much that I have gone on a journey of pain and discomfort that led me on a journey to understanding myself spiritually and emotionally. And that's the gift that I want to give to the youth and audiences now. And at the core of it, what else am I? I'm just a human trying to do the best I can and live a life of integrity one day at a time.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned limiting beliefs. Okay, so I guess from what I understand about limiting beliefs, it is basically whatever it is that's blocking you from moving forward. Am I correct? I could be wrong.
I think there's a couple ways to think about it. Like it's, yes, on a big scale, whatever's blocking you from moving forward, but the way that comes from is from our past stories and the way that we were raised and the things we experienced in life. All of those little things imprint on us, and they create fear that blocks us from seeing our true potential. And, the work that's important to do as we age is realizing and identifying fears as they come up. There's fear all around us. Sometimes you don't even know it's not even conscious, right? Like you might be saying, oh, I think I want to start this new art project on the side. But all of a sudden inside you have a fear about communicating to your partner that you want to get a babysitter so you can have an hour of time to yourself. Where's that fear coming from? What has happened in your past life that makes you scared to stick up for yourself? Or what has shown you have to live your life in a certain way?
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point, because it could, in that case, it could even be something like with rejection, right? Like, were you rejected or were you told that you can't do it? And those are things that we don't sit down to really uncover. So I like that example, right? Because there are situations like that where there are spouses that would like to start a new project and where they may be all of a sudden scared to tell their partner this. And it's not that the partner has said no, but like you mentioned, it could have been how they were raised or how, something that has happened. So I really like that because I feel like a lot of people are just stuck.
Yeah, and they're stuck. And then let's take it even further. Like, that's not the only way it shows up, the limiting beliefs. Like, maybe you're someone who's like, oh, I want to write that book, but you might be scared to talk to your partner, or you might not believe that you can write a book. Why? Because you're fearful, because it has to be perfect. Why? What makes you believe you have to be perfect? Like, I remember in my childhood, I got bullied and beat up a lot, and I thought I had to be a people pleaser and perfect to be loved. And I could look at that and I see how that has imprinted on my life. So when that comes up for me, I know where it's rooted. And then the power is in reframing it and not letting that fear dictate your life.
I like that. So in working with kids, right? How do you help them to look past their limiting beliefs?
Yeah, I love that question. So, first of all, I think that I know that God has put me here to be a speaker and an educator. I didn't like kids to teach. Like, I remember I was in my pedagogy classes in college and I was like, this sucks. I'm going to be a star. Like, why am I here learning how to teach? But then, I got in the classroom and I can relate to kids and I can draw their attention, and I don't feel like I speak from an authoritative place, but I am a commanding person. So that's the first thing. I can get kids to buy in. And how do I do that? I'm engaging. I'm real. I use my personal stories. I don't come from a level of telling them what to do, but showing them what has happened to me and how I move through my journey. That's the basis of it, right? The relationship building portion. And then beyond that, I have a framework. I use my own story of struggle and how I was a people pleaser and how I let negative thoughts rule my life. And I demonstrate to the youth how that imprinted on my life for a long time. And then I take them through my framework of a perspective shift through acceptance, gratitude, and service. Those three things, helping them on a daily basis shift their perspective so that they could love themselves.
Yeah. I like how you mentioned how you connect with the kids because how we may have learned is not how the new, the Gen Zs are learning, or the up and coming after that. I think it's Gen AA or something like that.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I feel so far away. Like, I'm like, whoa.
But I believe that they are, it's still the inner nerd in me, right? Who study generations. Like, I know that information is still like trickling in as far as in researching them. But what I think we can all agree that we observe from society is that they learn differently.
Right. They do. And I also think there's because I was a classroom teacher for a long time, and I also was a student like most of us. And I told this story in a presentation that I did for teachers. I was sitting in my grad school classes and my teacher was just lecturing us. And my laptop was open and I was doing something else, probably shopping or working on an assignment. And I was mad at myself because I really wanted to be there and I really wanted to pay attention. But the idea that she was just standing in front of me, talking to me, lecturing me, my mind can't hold on. And I felt dumb. And that is what I mean by connecting with students, not just speaking to them, but hitting all the learning styles, being animated, using yourself. Like, all of those things make education come to life for students.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned the learning styles. So important. It's really important because today's youth, like, they do crave that honesty and that realness, just like how you mentioned. Every now and then I'll have a conversation with like a youth and they'll tell me their problems. And then when I listen to them and then I tell them, okay, what do you think if it was this way? Or how would you feel? Or this is what happened when I did something like this. But they do connect and respond way better to the realness and the honesty than just telling them, no, you can't drink alcohol. Like, it's different,
Why?
Yeah.
They're like, whatever.
Why? Like, versus if you telling them, hey, when I was in college, I partied and I drank and then something crazy, till you tell them the story, they'll laugh, but they will also understand as well too. That this is why we don't want you to do this or that. So I like that for sure on how you connect with them. You mentioned that you give speeches a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
What other capacities do you work with the youth?
Awesome. So I do keynotes, and then that's Awakening Your Warrior Spirit that I just told you about, the perspective shift through acceptance and gratitude. I teach them how to reframe their negative thoughts. And then I also do workshops on awakening your creativity. And I do this for a lot of leadership youth organizations that do a volunteer component, right? Because usually what they have is kids from different schools that are a part of their organization, and they do strategic plans to make a big volunteer effort for the year. So I would go in and talk about how to awaken your creativity. And that's the same class that I teach at Berkeley College. So it's all about not being creative like an artist or a dancer. That's what I would have thought too in the beginning. But as I've matured into my own creativity, I've learned that it's about giving yourself, and this is for adults, giving yourself permission to ask questions. That is it. And then giving yourself permission to go on the journey to find the answer, understanding that the answer is probably not going to be what you thought it was, and giving yourself an ability to fail upward, right? So that is what my talk is about, because questions are everywhere. Creativity. What should I wear today? Should I wear these shoes or that? What should I eat for dinner? Those are small scales. But macro is, should I leave my job? What would happen if I wrote that book? What would happen if I asked that person on a date? That is creativity. It starts with your curiosity, which is a question. And so many people do not allow themselves to ask questions because they are stuck in the monotony of life, thinking that life should be what it should be because of society.
Mm-hmm. I like that, because you mentioned about failing upward and how we are sometimes stuck in asking the questions, which is true, because here it's kind of like you're overthinking, and then you get stuck and you end up never really doing anything
Right.
besides just thinking. And I like how you mentioned about creativity from that wider perspective, because most times when folks hear creativity, you just think, oh, arts, stuff like that. And so I guess, could you expand on that a little bit more about like creativity and as a whole, how you view it?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody has a creative life, and some people don't think they do. And a lot of that is because there's not enough arts education in the K-12 sector. Because if you're exposed to arts education growing up, you'll have a more of awareness of creativity all around you. But I'm speaking to those who didn't have the luxury of growing up with that, right? Because people don't always see the value in the arts. But creativity is how you live your life on a daily basis. That is it. Like there's this book by Elizabeth Gilbert. I forget the name of it. I'll send it to you. But she talks about allowing yourself to go on a creative journey. So something that I do sometimes is hang up a whiteboard in my office, and I'll write down questions that come up. What if I started a YouTube channel? What if I took my husband on a trip to Europe? What if I did this? That is creativity. It's breaking the monotony of your life, because that's why you're stuck, is because your life is just like monotonous and you're not full anymore. And then you look for outside things to fill you, but you have to fill yourself from inside, because there's always something guiding us to the questions that we should go on a journey to ask ourselves. And that's rooted in spirituality, right? How do you connect with your spirituality? Because if you don't have a way to connect with it, you're not going to hear the calls placed on you. For example, the way I do it, and it looks different for everybody. It's not saying you have to be religious. It's not saying you have to pray. No, some people find their spirituality by walking, by running, by exercising, right? I find mine through meditation and prayer and readings and conversations with other spiritual people, right? Because we have messages all around us, but you can't hear it. So therefore, you can't tap into your creativity.
Yeah, it is true. And it is very true. And it's almost like, in a world, like, I know my beliefs. I believe in God, but everyone has choices, right? You can believe in whatever, but you have to believe in something. Believe in something, because you need something to be grounded to, that, you can seek clarity and answers. And so it's really important for that. But I never would think that it relates back to creativity.
Yeah, most people don't, but that's why I like teaching it.
But it makes sense, though. It makes sense, because when you sit down and like, whether it's stay still or like what you mentioned, walking or going to the gym or whatever it is that it is. And once you have that time with you, that is when you really do download and hear and, process your information.
Or if I
Um,
can say, like, with something bigger than us, like for me, it's God too. But something that helps me in my life is to remember, like, I am not the all knowing. When I was younger and thought I was the all knowing, all being, I would force my life and made it a certain way, right? Because I have to dictate the outcome of my life. Yes, I have to plan, I have to do things, I have to be a responsible adult, but the outcome is not up to me. I do this exercise in my keynote speech where I give each student a die and I say, I want you to identify something that you want in life. So say some of them might be like, I want to get into this college. I want to get this boyfriend or girlfriend. I want to do this, that. So they identify it. And I say, okay, I want you to pick a number. And that number signifies you getting that thing. So say they pick number 2. Then they stand up and they roll the die. And I ask them, how many of you did it land on the die land on the number you wanted? Some of them will say yes. Some of them will say no. I say that is life. That's acceptance, right? That is what creativity is. We set the intent. We first hear the call for the question. We set the intention, but you do the work, roll the die, you let it go. It's not up to you. It's up to that higher power. And a lot of times it is better off with the outcome that we receive because that is what is planned for us.
I like that. And when we release that expectation, it does relinquish our control because we trust. And also it eliminates all of this anxiety and stress and depression and all these different things that come with holding on to this is the way my life should be. This is it. That's it.
Can I give you an example of creativity on another scale? Because I want your audience to get it. So I felt called to be a speaker. Question, right? Starts with a question. What if I spoke? I didn't know it was going to be to youth. I didn't know what I was speaking about. The question, I just allowed myself to explore the question. Okay, all right, I'll try it. No idea how to present myself as a speaker, pitch myself as a speaker. The creativity comes in going on the journey. Oh, I found a podcast that taught me this. Oh, I connected with this person. Oh, okay, I pitched like this. And then the releasing, I sent like 300 to 500 emails. My speaking calendar is booked this year, but I was okay with getting the no because the no led to the yes. And the no led to me understanding what I actually want to do. That's what I mean by following your curiosity and creativity. It's in anything in your life.
I like that. And you sent over 300 emails. That's amazing.
Oh, from then it's been like 6 months. And when I say my calendar is full for me, like I've identified like right now, full for me is like 1 speaking engagement a month. I would like 2, but 1 a month is good.
Yeah. But I like that because you're right. You just followed your curiosity. I like that. Okay, so before you were doing speaking, what were you doing?
I was an online business coach for dancers. Simultaneously, there was an overlap where I ran the high school dance program too.
And then what made you change into this new role? Yeah.
So I'm a person, like I've always been a person that I need to do work that fills me. When I got that teaching job, I fell in love with it or I would have been miserable, right? So when I was coaching, I thought that's what I wanted to do because I started a podcast and then I saw all these people. I'm a business coach online. I'm a business coach. I'm like, oh, like my ego got in the way. Oh, business coach means I'm important online. That means I'm good. So what can I coach around? Starting an online dance business. Okay. And then I do it and I hate it. I hate it because I wasn't following my curiosity. I was following what I thought I was supposed to be doing based on what I saw other people succeeding at. But we don't know if they're really succeeding. But I wanted to fit into the mold of being like idolized for being a business coach online. So of course I wasn't happy. And maybe some people listening might be like, dang, I ain't happy where I am either because you're not doing what you're really supposed to do. You're cutting yourself off from your creativity. So I just had to get quiet with myself. And the messy middle is not easy when you don't know what direction to take. I had to wait. And that's where my higher power came in my meditation and my prayer. The answer was delivered to me.
Yeah. And it's so important because it's like each of our lives is unique, right? We all have unique lives, and to follow what we see someone online doing it definitely won't be fulfilling because what you know, with you enjoy what you do, but it doesn't mean that you'll enjoy what I do, right?
Exactly.
So it's probably not best for us to follow what each other do because it's just not our calling. And to be in business, especially a business that you own, and to be doing something that makes you miserable, it's really stressful and annoying.
It's so
It's
sad.
very stressful and annoying. So I like that pivot that you did.
Mhm.
um how, or I guess when did you figure out like you should start changing?
And it's interesting. I think on TikTok was the time, yeah, I think I was getting dressed for subbing. Okay, so
Mhm.
there was a time I went from teaching, had my business, was making me money with the support of my husband. I didn't have to work. And then all of a sudden, that business I didn't like and I didn't want to sell anymore. I had to sub, I had to make money. And I was so ashamed. I have my master's degree, I was a teacher. I'm subbing. Like, what do they think? So it took a while for it to come, and it took a while for me to actually see momentum. That happens sometimes. Sometimes you have to be in a position where you're uncomfortable until you get to where you want to go. So I would say it took me like 3 to 6 months to figure out where I wanted to go, and then it took another 6 months to get to a place where I had enough going on in my life that I don't sub right now.
Yeah, and that's good because that middle is where you had to basically do that. You did what you had to do to
Mm-hmm.
make income while you're transitioning over into the new, right?
Right.
Into your new career. So I like that because sometimes we do, and if you listen to many entrepreneurs, and I'm realizing the more and more I listen to stories or I read up about folks, they will all say there was a period of time in business where it was like they started doing something
Mm-hmm.
and then they realized they weren't doing it correctly, they made mistakes or something, but some sort of change had to happen, and in between they had to get a job of some sort,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then when they went around the second time and went back to business, that is when it really catapulted.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we know online we don't see that. Most
No.
times all we see is just, oh, I've been here, and then boom, all they see is the wins. But there's a lot of in betweens. A
There's so
lot
much in
of different
between.
things. Yeah.
And then even during that time, like I was interviewing and I was working different things, and there were still elements of my life I was trying to figure out, but it's just accepting it. It's temporary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's it. It's temporary. So it's like, don't beat yourself up about if you have to pick up some hours here or there, or you have to drive Uber or do something in between because it's temporary. It's like, your long term goals.
Mm-hmm.
So it is temporary. And then sometimes too, you'll be surprised at like how connections are made in the
Listen,
most strangest ways. Like,
working at one of the schools, I fell in love with the school and the people in the school, and they loved me. I was a worker amongst workers. Like I busted my butt at that school because I came from an education background, but I'm smart. I know people are watching me. So I got a connection to possibly come and speak at that school. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's okay. And like, watch when you are in these situations where you don't want to be there, watch
mm.
yourself and show up, right? Because you don't know who's watching you.
Hmm. That is so true. That is so true. It's funny you said that because just even the other day, like I had someone reached out to me on LinkedIn about an opportunity,
Mhm.
and there I had updated my LinkedIn a few months ago,
Mhm.
just a quick refresher, and someone reached out to me, and I was like, oh, this person went through my entire profile. Was
Wow.
there to reach out to me. So you're right. It's like you never know who is watching
Right.
and how they would want to connect. So whether it's like even the passenger, I've known of people meeting record execs doing Uber, producers, all sort of things that can help you to the next level. So it's like, don't overlook that middle
Mhm.
section of the process. Don't overlook it because there's so much potential in it.
It is. And let me tell you something. I take my dog to dog training on Tuesdays, right? And I happen to be working in a library, and I saw this boutique. I went in and I could tell the owner was really friendly. And then she started telling me about events she hosts there for women. I got creative. Hey, can I get your number? Like I host events. Tell her it's everywhere. It is everywhere. When you are following your creativity and your curiosity and you feel in alignment with yourself, you're going to see all of the possibility all around you. It's all there waiting for us.
Yeah. So don't be scared to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be scared to ask. Don't be scared to question what could be next. Um, follow, trust yourself and follow through.
Yeah.
I like that because look how you just simply asked. You just simply asked and the door opened, literally.
Anybody could say no. No, and that's another thing, fear, right? People think that no defines their worth.
Yeah.
That's
So the kids that you have worked with, have you noticed like any significant changes with them?
well, my students that I was in high school with, but unfortunately, the kind of work that I do a keynote or a workshop, and I don't have long-term relationships with any of these kids. So I don't get to see their growth. But after it, there are those kids who come up to me and share their story with me or share how I've impacted them for that moment.
Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that's so sweet. I like that because it's touching, but you never know because later on in life there may be like a stuff that you'll and they will remember. Like you may meet them or something. I remember once I had went to a high school to do like a little workshop and a young lady, she was in, I want to say it was 11th grade.
Okay.
And then about 2 or 3 years later, she reached out to me telling me that she had a business and she would like to work with me. And so I gave her the opportunity.
I love that.
And it was funny because it was doing work in actually Jamaica and she's in Florida. And she's like, don't worry about it. I just want the opportunity for the exposure. And so she's like, I'm going to fly there. I have family there. Just tell me what you need. And so I made her the event social media manager and she added her portfolio.
That's so nice. See, I love that.
Because they do remember. They do remember. They really do. So I like that. Okay. So online peoples, make sure that you follow Erin at the information below on Instagram, TikTok. I also dropped your website, all those things. I will add all those stuff for y'all in the description, as well as the book and any other resources that were shared here. I'll gather all the info for you guys as usual.
Oh, the book is called Big Magic.
Big Magic. It will be added for you guys as well. Anything you would like to leave the audience with?
No, Sidjae, I just think you're great. You're light. I could tell that when we were speaking, and I just am grateful that I get to connect with you and get to share with your audience. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. All right, y'all. We will be talking to the next Priceless Convos. Bye, y'all.
Bye.